Good evening. It is Ankar. It is my pleasure to be with you in this evening. Once again, you have been focusing using a mantra on peace and tranquility, or peace and harmony. It is always good to use a mantra when you choose to meditate, or it keeps your mind very nicely focused as long as you are repeating it out loud. And so you will gain the maximum benefit from the use of such a mantra. We wish to think or to talk about peace and how peace may be restored. For when it is such as it is, a fight between nations, so to speak, it is a power play. And the people who are there may not wish to continue to do this fighting, for it is ceasing to help them at all. Of course, the country defending itself against the invasion needs to keep fighting, and so they have a purpose, and they will keep on doing so. The country doing the invading begins to lose their impetus and their desire to continue, for they do not like the wanton destruction of public facilities and hospitals and schools and apartment buildings and things which will cause a great deal of difficulty for the country they are invading. They cannot see the sense of it, but their dictator, their ruler, has said that there will not be a country left. He said that the Ukraine will cease to be a country. And so this is his way of causing them to cease to be a country. He, of course, is equating that a country is equivalent to its buildings, rather than the understanding that the country is in the minds and hearts of its citizens. He knows that about his own people, that for them, Russia is their homeland. It is their place of peace and security. It is their country, and the country has its well-being in the minds and hearts of the citizens. And if he recognized that his country is its people, he would not find it productive to keep destroying buildings. Yes, he is also targeting the population, but not to the extent that he is targeting the buildings. If there are people there, so much the better as far as he is concerned. However, this is his role. This is his place. He is, in his mind, destroying the country, while most of its citizens, many of its citizens, have escaped to other countries that border their country. And they still love their homeland. And so he is not accomplishing his desires. He is merely destroying the physical buildings, the infrastructure of the country, not realizing that it is still going to be there after he leaves, or after he has completed all this destruction. He will leave and feel that he has done his job. Ukraine has ceased to be a country because he has destroyed all its infrastructure. Of course, this means great hardships for the people of Ukraine who will want to return to their homeland. They will not have homes and houses, buildings. They will not have schools and hospitals. These things will be missing for quite a long time. But as Europe restored itself after World War II, after other countries having had much invasion and much destruction and other times of war, have all rebuilt themselves. And so this is what will happen with the Ukraine. And of course, Mr. Putin will cease to exist at some point in time, for he is already ill. And when he realizes how complete is his defeat, that he did not destroy a country and make it cease to exist. He merely gave it an opportunity to rebuild itself better than it ever was before, because there will be help from other countries, which will send people in to create buildings, to help clean up the rubble, and to salvage building materials, to do what is necessary to rebuild the infrastructure of their country. Many people may choose not to come back, but most of them will, and they will all work to restoring what it is they love. If you think in your life what is most important to yourself, is it your house, your apartment, your furniture, your car? Or is it the place you call home? That is truly what you love and what is important to you. If your home is destroyed, you merely have to hold it in your heart until it is rebuilt, and it will be rebuilt. And so you will have the patience, you will have the tolerance, and you will work to rebuild your home and get back everything that you had before. But that what you get back will be newer and better. And so you will simply love that which you have. And so I want you all to know and to think and realize this. In spite of the destruction, eventually it will end. The Ukraine will build itself. Its people will return, and they will have a happy life. Mr. Putin will die, and he will have to leave his own homeland. And perhaps, just perhaps, he will realize the futility of the actions that he has taken. And so these are my thoughts to give to you for the evening. Know that peace will come again. Know it in your heart. Know it in your mind. Know it to be true. And sending out those vibrations, sending out the thought of peace and tranquility, or peace and harmony, and sending out the thought of a happy, healthy Ukrainian country and citizenry, that these things will all manifest in the future. So, are there any questions that you would like to ask me in this evening?
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, good. That was just what I wanted to hear. That is my homeland, my mother's homeland, and I visited there, and I have relatives there, and I'm just so thankful and grateful that you can see a future where there will be a rebuilt Ukraine, and that people can return and live peacefully. And I was told and heard that Putin does have a terminal disease, and I'm just hoping that before he does any more damage, that he'll be prevented from doing so. And the other thing I heard is that, is it true that he has a daughter? I can't imagine a woman going along with his thoughts that he wanted his daughter to take over when he was gone. And how does that work out? She's a scientist of some sort.
I do not know that. I have never looked into that. Let us put it that way. And so I do not know that as a fact that he has a daughter. And it's possible that he will wish her to take over. But it must be remembered that there is a semblance of a free society in Russia. They do have elections.
The Russians don't want him there in power. I know that.
So,
But they don't have free elections. Unfortunately, he's a dictator and he won't allow that.
they have a semblance of elections. That is to say, people are allowed to vote. And it isn't, he is not particularly liked at this point in time. And when he is no longer in power, he will not have, when he is too ill, he will not have a great deal of power then. And things will change inside Russia. But there will always, at this point in time, there will continue to be people who aspire to the type of power that Mr. Putin has at this time. And although it is supposedly, a society of the free and that all are equal, this is known that it is not true. But
That's not, no,
we do not have to worry about what will happen in Russia at this time. Just know that the Ukraine will rise out of the ashes.
Oh, I love that. I love that saying.
And continue to think that and know that, so that it is a de facto accomplishment in your mind that continues to send that energy forward to all the country and the citizens of Ukraine. Your affection for Ukraine is exactly what I was saying, that it is not found in the countryside. It is found in the hearts and minds of its citizens. And so the country will continue to exist. And he will have failed at destroying the country.
Thank you. That's just what I wanted to hear. Thank you so much.
You are most welcome. Are there other questions?
I have questions. I lived about 1969. They was Russia on territorium. They was not. Before Second War, they was territorium of Poland, all everything. And after Second War, the Russians take this territorium Poland. They was never was Ukraine over there. I don't know even when happened Ukraine. They was people Rushine. They was even name Ukraine never before. This is probably karma. People pay karma because those people take all Polish people out from this territorium, and the Russian take to the Siberia this the Polish people, and the other people move to the Poland right now. But this was territorium Polish before. This is probably people pay karma right now.
It could be, as you say, but what happened was Russia collapsed at some point.
They people don't let me speak Polish, my language. They always take you. You have to go out. You have to go out, and they don't like us Polish people. We have only 2 schools over there, and these people very badly take us and destroyed us, also my family, and they took all family out from this territorium. There's never was Ukraine over there. They was Polish territorium. This is probably paying karma right now.
I understand what you are saying. When Russia collapsed a while ago, and all the territories that made up the Soviet social this republic, were abandoned by Russia. Russia no longer could take care of them, did not give them anything, and left them to their own devices. And that is when the country of Ukraine was founded. And there was
Never. I never remember even Ukraine. This is never. This was Polish territorium.
It was when Russia collapsed that the people decided to call themselves.
Okay. When they
and
Russia collapsed, they make Ukraine.
yes,
They never before Ukraine. I don't know who made Ukraine even.
well,
They were brothers. We are family. This is all family live up there. They have the same language, the same writing and reading. I don't understand. This is probably karma. People pay karma because what they do for these people, now they have to pay this. Grandchildren pay for karma.
well, you could be very true that this is the karma that is being paid by the grandchildren of the Russian people that were there in the past, who expelled all the Polish-speaking people and said that you could not speak Polish any longer. So if they are destroying the city, but there is still the population which has fled the territory known as Ukraine at this time, and they will, for the most part, return when they are able to rebuild their country safely.
Yes, and this was after Second War. The Germans give him 24 hours free Ukraine, and they kill many Polish people. They cut on the heads because the man was Ukrainian, a wife was Polish. They have to cut off this awful boring cutting and obrońców Lwowa. They destroyed very, very much those people, Polish people. This is their karma right now. This is grandchildren, their karma for they do parents for before.
All right, we have heard what you have to say. Thank you very much. I hope that you, could you hear her, someone? Let me know whether you could hear Julia speaking.
Yes.
I could hear Julia.
Okay, good. So you heard what she had to say, and that
Yes.
was important for her. So it is to be understood that damage was done to the Polish people, and she feels that now those people are paying a karmic debt by having their property all destroyed, and many of them are being killed also. However, whatever the reason is, it is better to have peace rather than to have war. And it does not matter what someone has done before. What matters, what is best, is if people can live in harmony with one another, tolerating one another's viewpoints, and working together to create success and prosperity in their lives. And this way, they enjoy the greatest happiness. What is happening now does not make happiness for Russia. It does not make happiness for the people of Ukraine. It does not help things on the world front for all the people to find harmonious places to live. They have moved to nearby countries where many of them have already relatives. They are thinking of staying there. Perhaps they will move back, perhaps they won't. But their homeland continues to be where their heart is. Your homeland is where your heart is. And it may or may not be Russia or Ukraine, whatever you know it, whatever the area is, perhaps it is best Poland, and that would be your place where your heart goes. Perhaps now it is the United States and where you live. Maybe that is your favorite spot, and that is what you consider home. And that is good too. Home is where you desire to be and where you feel comfortable and safe and happy, where you have family members and friends. So that is what home is for most people. It is not their houses, their highways, their structures, their hospitals, their schools. It is not any of those things. It is what they cherish most, which is individual for many people. It is different for each person, but that is what home is to them, whatever they cherish. So are there other questions not on this subject?
I had a question on, I was reading about, I guess, double lives in a sense. And I'm kind of getting the impression, I just wanted to check with you with this, because I'm getting the impression that since we are energy, that a little bit of our energy is staying where you are. And apparently we can make our energy be in different places too at the same time. Like we're not, I don't know, our energy is like, can go all over in a sense. I'm kind of getting that impression that it can spread out, because I was reading that we can live a life that, well, say this life, and maybe I'm living another life at the same time someplace else. And it's kind of a double question can we scatter ourselves all over? And the other part was, if I am living another life someplace else, would my subconscious be aware of it?
Those are very excellent questions, and I wish to discuss them as best I can. We are energy. And in a sense, you can live another life, but usually you do not do that at the same time between lives. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I know it's kind of not a common thing, I'm guessing, but apparently we're powerful enough to do that. So I'm thinking our energy can go a lot of places at one time, but I don't know how far they can go or what, what's the expanse of our reach with our energy.
People usually do not live two lives at the same time with their energy. There was no purpose to doing that. You may consider it possible, yes, but do you do it? The answer is no. You can do what they call travel. I'm sorry, I have not found the word that I want to use here. Astral travel is what it is. This can be done, but usually the person who is astral channeling will will be in an altered state, such as in a trance, and they will then move to a different spot in the planet, leaving behind the facsimile of themselves, which sometimes is active and speaking, while they move to a different place in the planet and interact at that place in the planet. So it is not that they are living full lives. It is merely that they can duplicate where they are behaving, acting, standing, whatever you wish to say, that they are here where you are now, as well as in another spot. And sometimes this might last for an hour or two. And there are people who can do this at will, but they are not common. Most people cannot achieve this control over themselves and their energy. So they can astral travel, meaning they can move outside of their body and still project an image of themselves at a new location. And they can talk and walk and speak and do things, but it is not a whole separate life. This is more common than to have separate lives that you are living at the same time. However, there is the question of dimensions, different dimensions. And there is a possibility, because different dimensions do exist, that the person that is you would also be alive in a different dimension. And it would be a similar version of you in that dimension, as best as would be permitted by that dimension. Now realize that when we are talking about different dimensions, that the single dimension would be similar to ink on a page. It only has, you can only measure perhaps its thickness, but you can measure its length or one aspect, because it only has one aspect. A two-dimensional has depth as well as length, and it can be, so it is more familiar. You live in a three-dimensional world because you have time also in there, in that dimension, as well as the two dimensions. You have added time. There is a fourth dimension that goes on, in which I cannot explain what is the new thing that exists in the fourth dimension. So there are more dimensions, and the world in which you live is altered by the perceptions of the new realities that go on. You cannot imagine living in a two-dimensional world in which there is no time. I can imagine living in a world with no time.
I bet you can.
Yes, I do.
I try. But, yeah, but everything we seem to refer to comes up with the word time in it somewhere.
Yes, it is very important.
Yeah, I mean, like when I was a kid, the time didn't matter, so I was kind of living like that. You know, it mattered to my parents, but not to me. You know,
Yes,
maybe
being
that's
a
kind of the
child,
same idea.
yes, you did not focus. You knew time existed, but you did not.
I paid no attention to it.
Consider, yes, you didn't consider time actively in all your work. You were simply at school, you were playing, you were home, you were at your friend's house, but
Yep.
you were not thinking of time.
Exactly. Yeah, was no time. And you actually answered another question that I was going to ask you, because about, well, I said parallel universes, and I guess that's kind of what you were talking about, and that
Yes.
we are kind of the same person in another universe. And the only thing, well, of course, with the science fiction movies, you know, one person that is in this universe travels to another universe, and where they also exist, or perhaps they have already died. So, and that comes out pretty funny when the movies.
Yes, that is being imagined by authors and writers of science fiction and plays and films.
Exactly.
It's interesting what they can imagine. Sometimes it is not interesting. Sometimes they can't make it make sense enough to be interesting. But
True.
yes, Uh, it is just confusing and it doesn't seem to work.
Right. And
So-
actually, I didn't know you were going to tell me those existed as compared to living two lives at once, because of the book I was reading. Now, maybe the person was talking about another universe. I don't know, but he was living in Canada, I think, and right now he's in the United States, but Canada could be in another universe. So I don't know.
I do not know, of course, I have not read your book to understand what this author is speaking about. I can only extrapolate from what you have said and try to put it into the reality of which I am aware.
Right. Okay.
And I do not see people living two lives simultaneously in the same area, such as on Earth, one in Europe and one in the United States. That I do not see that happening.
Okay.
One right after the other, perhaps. That has
Right.
happened many times. And the purpose for that is individual, as it always is, that people decide that they have a need to come back into the similar time frame.
Okay.
So did I answer all that question?
Yes, I believe so.
Parts of it?
You and an extra one even.
Good. I was not sure if I had answered all the aspects of that question.
Unless you can think of any more that I didn't think of.
No, that is all that I can think of. It is more likely to happen in what, as you have used the term, parallel universes, but they could be in different dimensional worlds also. It's the same.
Right.
That you cannot have, you can have some communication, obviously. I am talking through the medium.
Mhm.
And I am
Right.
in a totally different universe than yourself.
Uh-huh.
But it is not a second life for me. It is just a way of talking.
Right.
So are there more questions? We always hope there's another question.
I guess I shocked everybody, huh?
Perhaps you did.
All right. I was wondering, I got another one as usual.
Good. Keep
in
asking.
spirit. Okay, cool. In spirit, our minds are open to everything around you. So how can a spirit hide some of their knowledge from another? Like sometimes you'll say you can't get an answer about something. Is that because wherever you're getting the information from is not open to you?
Oh, I would have to remember when I had said those things. Some of the questions that you like to answer, and not, I'm using you in a loose sense, not you specifically, but you as a general pronoun for anyone in physical world. People are asking what is going to happen, or shall I do this? And in a way, I am choosing not to answer these questions. The reason being, if I am then interfering with you making your own decisions and taking your own actions, I am taking on your karma by doing this. So I rarely, if ever, will tell someone to do something for sure, because it is, I do not wish to take on your karma, and I do not wish to influence the outcome. So I think most of the time that when I say that I cannot tell you something, it's not so much that I cannot find the answer. I could look in the Akashic records, and the Akashic records are open to me, but they are fluid. They are a stream that, depending upon when you look in them, you could see different answers and different possibilities unfolding. If you look toward the past, it is more easy because it has already been written from the point that you are viewing the Akashic records. And so it is history. But when it comes to looking toward the future is always fluid in the Akashic records, because the decision, if we take the decision of Mr. Putin to invade Ukraine, there would have been, until he actually invaded, there would only be possibilities which have not yet manifested. And so I cannot predict the future. I can see possibilities, but I do not wish to communicate these possibilities to you in all instances, because I do not want to influence how you act about decisions. I do not know if I am making myself clear on this, but I do not wish to influence the future by what I say, and which would be, in a sense, an encouragement for you to act in a certain way. So I would be playing a role in what was to happen, and that is not appropriate for me to do so. My purpose here is to give guidance and understanding to people that help them to live better lives for themselves, so that they think and make decisions for themselves which are helpful and create a good life for themselves. So this is what I seek to do. By giving you knowledge, I hope that you will use it wisely and create a better life for yourself, one in which you can experience greater happiness. Usually, sometimes I try to tell you about yourself so that you can perhaps see that you are acting emotionally, or this is the way you make your decisions, which don't always bring about the best results for yourself. So therefore, perhaps you could change the way you think, or the way you act, or how you make decisions. And now I remember there was another part of your question, that always a little part of yourself remains in spirit. And this I did not address, for that is a truth that exists also, that your super ego, that part of yourself, is always attached to the spirit world, so to speak, in as much as it also has access to knowledge and understanding. Now, I have talked about this in the past many times to encourage you to seek answers within yourself, because the knowledge that you truly have, the knowledge that is there in the Akashic records and in spirit, is part of yourself. You have access to that by simply consulting yourself and thinking of it as perhaps your intuition. What is the answer to this question? How do I find the best solution? what is the best solution? Now, it's not appropriate for me to answer those questions, but you have access to see things for yourself and get answers for yourself through your superconsciousness, which is always attached to the spirit world. It is like your umbilical cord. You are attached to your mother. You are attached to spirit. You are attached to one another in many ways. And the answer can be found inside yourself because of that attachment. And so you can ask yourself the question and wait for the answer. It will come to you in meditation. It may come to you in your dreams. It may come to you from someone you meet on the street who happens to be talking about what you need to know and gives you the answer that you seek. This information will always come to you if you seek it and you are patient for it to manifest itself. Or that is a part of yourself which always remains attached to spirit or in spirit world, if you wish.
Wow, cool.
It is very cool, but most people do not trust and do not wait for their answers. Many people do, and you will hear them saying that spirit said to me, or I suddenly heard this, or I know this, I got this answer. And it helped them to make the best decision for themselves. It works if you give it the time to work.
I think we don't trust our own thoughts.
Absolutely.
Speaking of that thought sort of thing, I remember one time we were talking about possession, and I was wondering, you didn't know how to answer the one thing, so I was wondering if you ever looked into it to find out any more. And what it was if somebody allows himself to be possessed and the person that is possessed dies, what happens? Because now you've got two spirits in one body.
Oh, well, both spirits leave.
Oh, okay. You weren't sure what happened, you said. So you weren't sure what or where they go, I guess, or what they do. I don't know. They've done obviously not all both going to the same place. And do they split because the one spirit let the other one possess it basically and took it over?
Well,
So
once the body is dead, it has no life to it. Those kind of questions are what it doesn't matter what the answer is, because it isn't a question of where do they go. Because the human who was possessed, his spirit is still going to move into the spirit world. I do not know how else
Okay.
to express it. You see, that is the problem. Many times there are no words for this. So
Yeah.
he moves into the spirit world same as he would. The possessing entity is left into whatever world he was in before he possessed someone else, which would be, I'm assuming it is a spirit that is free, that is, but still confined to the physical plane. And so he would continue to be confined to the physical plane.
Oh.
And probably look for someone else to possess.
Oh, wow. He doesn't learn, does he?
Well, that is a good comment. And it is possible that he does learn by possessing someone and then is able to transition into the normal spirit world.
Okay. Alrighty.
Okay. So now I was able to answer a question I could not answer before.
Thank you very much.
But perhaps it was the way you phrased the question.
Well, we were talking about it and you were explaining how, it can be possessed as long as the person permits them to possess them. But then if they're possessed, that means their mind is not controlling them anymore. So then I said, well, okay, so what happens if the body dies? Then,
Yes, but you were wrong there when you were saying their mind is not controlling them anymore.
oh,
Spirit does not necessarily control your mind. Your soul does not control your mind. That is part of the physicalness of the physical world that you are living in. So spirit, when someone is possessed by an unhealthy spirit, let's just put it that way, he is not making all the decisions for someone. It can be quite intermittent and only cause problems from time to time.
okay. That wouldn't be like, it wouldn't be schizophrenia, would it?
What you label the actions of someone has nothing to do with whether they are possessed. It is possible that it could be schizophrenia. There are other disorders which could be as a result of possession, but some of these just can be minds that are not working properly.
Okay. Because they're hearing voices or listening to voices and doing what voices are telling them to do. So
those that are, well, you hear people, people who hear spirit voices.
well, but that's different than somebody, really hearing, and they say they hear things. They say so and so told me, and then it's this entity that they're talking about, and they feel like they have to do whatever the entity's telling them to do. So that's kind of creepy, but
yes, well,
that's not quite the same as when somebody tells me they heard a message or they heard something else. Yeah,
I understand it is different, but I just wanted to point out that people do hear spirit, and there are people that hear voices, and the difference is if they are possessed, these voices usually end up telling them things that are not helpful to themselves, and can cause them to cause injury to themselves and other people. So these are not obviously spirits who have moved on into the spirit world. They are not in the spirit world. They are people, perhaps, that the person is possessed.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yes. Are there any other questions?
Okay.
Did I hear yes?
Yes. Yes. 1 second.
Mahesh?
Yes.
Please.
This is my dad. I guess I'm asking a question on behalf of my dad. He wanted to ask. I guess just going back to some of the comments you made about karma and how you
Comments about what?
Comments about karma and how you would like people to make their own choices in life for their own growth. So I guess my dad's question was, I guess he's reflecting on his life, and he's thinking he helped, he probably helped too much many of the relatives, both on his side of the family and my mom's side of the family, to the point where they became dependent and took him for granted and didn't develop their own abilities to to navigate life,
To take care of themselves.
take care of themselves.
That is my-
And so I guess my dad is thinking, I mean, did he interfere in their karma and prevent them from experiencing certain things they should have experienced, or is this the way
It's the way it is supposed to be.
yes, that's what I
He
told
was
him to.
very generous. He was very generous and very loving to his family members and tried to help them. They, however, had the ability to make decisions for themselves. And they chose not to recognize that this was his generosity. And they began to feel privileged that they should receive this because he was obviously very rich living in America and not realizing that what he provided them caused him to make sacrifices in his life. They had the ability to understand that, but they chose not to. And so this is a decision they made to allow themselves to become dependent and to think that they did not have to be take care of themselves and be honorable and provide for their own well-being. So he did not interfere with their karma. In a sense, he was part of what they needed to experience. And in order for them to learn to make wiser decisions in the future, they perhaps will have to find another lifetime in which they can either take Mahesh's role and become a generous person to understand the sacrifices that Mahesh made, to have that realization known inside themselves to such a degree that they would not do that again in a future life, because they now had understood both sides of the coin. It is also possible that in another life, Mahesh was not generous to family members, and therefore what he was doing by providing for these family members in this life was the other side of the coin for him, that he was fulfilling a karmic debt by providing for these people. We do not know how it was when we are in the physical world, because all memories of the reasons for our decisions are erased when we come into the world. And we have to live our lives as we live our lives. Mahesh did the best that he could in all occasions. He may not have been perfect. That made him a normal human being. And he made the best decision that he could. He should not, because he has gotten older, contemplate his actions to try to judge himself at this time, because the judging is not possible. When you transition and you have your life review, you can see the effects of what you were thinking and what you did and how it helped or hindered others, or he did not cause an intentional hardship. He did not cause intentional pain for these family members. His thought was the other way. And so whatever happened with these family members simply does not matter. And he should not worry himself. He should just continue to be as good as he can possibly be, because that has always been his action. He should just continue, and he will be able to make his, when he makes this transition, he will see and understand, or he will know, or everything that he needs to judge himself clearly and accurately. I hope that answers his question. Is there-
Yes, that does. Thank you very much.
Does he require anything else?
No, he's okay.
Good. He was a very good man. He has been a very good man. And while he may not always been perfect, perhaps he lost his temper, did not always speak lovingly. From time to time, these things happen. And he did his best to make up for these lapses through other spiritual acts and ways of being.
Right.
So he is good.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions?
Thank you, Ramka.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for asking, for it allows me to speak and to give more understanding so that people will realize that they need not worry about their life review, but they will come to understand many things about themselves. And that will affect whether they choose to come again and in what circumstances they will come again. Are there any more questions?
I was just thinking about what you said before about not affecting our thoughts to screw up our future. But I know you're going to think this is funny probably, but if you think about the really, really big picture, that maybe you're here and whatever you say to us, even if it is something about the future, maybe it was meant to be said so that we do something.
Yes, I understand that, but I do not wish to take on the karma.
Okay, I can understand. All right.
Yes, I'll let you decide your own future. That is
Oh.
best.
Okay. Alrighty. I had another thing I wanted to say about your souls, new souls. And the earth, like our earth, is like, I mean, we're always headed to destruction, at least that's what we keep saying. But new souls are always being created, and therefore new souls are always going to want to come here. So technically, I mean, as far as I can see, the earth will never change in a sense. It'll just keep going with the new souls that are going to learn and make bigger screw ups than the old souls, et cetera, et cetera. So I would, the thing was, I was wondering if we unfortunately do destroy the earth somehow so that we can't live here anymore, and people still want to come here, what happens?
An interesting question. You are assuming that being on this earth is a particular spot that souls decide they wish to be, as opposed to be merely in the three-dimensional space that is your world and your universes, all your universes. And so if the world itself is destroyed, it will not matter, because there will be other places that the souls will go.
Oh, okay, but none like this one, huh?
It will probably be different. Who knows?
Yeah.
You may look just like a frog.
There you go. All righty.
Yes. This world, yeah, I liked your picture that you were painting, that of souls coming in and new souls coming in and letting this be a learning world, in which case it'll only seem like it's on the brink forever and ever. And
Exactly.
you can look to your history. There have been many, 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 many civilizations that have sprung up. They have died away, and they have been replaced by new civilizations. And so, in a sense, that is similar to being in the new world.
Ah, okay. Okay. I gotcha.
And so it is interesting to contemplate that from that point of
Definitely.
view, that people are, the world is always somewhat destroying itself and being rebuilt again in someone else's image or idea,
Yep.
which is very interesting. And if you look at it that way and study the old civilizations, hopefully you learn what to avoid and you create peace and harmony within your world.
Obviously, we haven't learned that, or Russia wouldn't be attacking.
Well, you are probably right. It has not been learned in full. I thought we were doing quite well.
I did too.
But we seem to have a slight setback, and I'm sure that is what it is. Well, I think it is time for me to say good night. I give you all my blessings. Good night.
Good night, darling. Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.